The UK job market is atrocious, diabolical, disgusting, vile. I have made TikTok videos about this very subject. I'm saying it's cooked, I don't know what's going on. I noticed that I was struggling within my job search. I started to post online, and lo and behold, there are so many other people that are also struggling to find work. And this goes across many different industries. But what exactly is going on? Because I feel like it's been widely reported on the cost of living crisis, the housing market crisis. With the job market, however, there always seems to be blame on job seekers. However, so many people are being made redundant, left, right and centre. Businesses are making cuts. National insurance tax has risen, costing businesses more to have employees and maintain them. Let's just put it in a video and figure out what's actually going on. Now, the stats that are going to be in this video are from the government resources, and they're going to be from September 2025. So this video might be up after that. However, those stats will still apply. There will just be a new release in October and November and the following months to really show what's happening month by month, quarter by quarter with regards to the job market and unemployment in the UK, as well as job vacancies. So let's get started. For a lot of people, because my videos have really gained some traction, especially on TikTok, and there people are saying, look, this isn't like the usual job market. And I feel exactly the same. Usually 3 to 6 months max looking for a job, trying to find something suitable, but it's just not the case. Now, I hear a lot from my videos, people saying it's AI, it's the job cuts, redundancies are being made because businesses are trying to cut back on headcount and costs. In between that, there are fake jobs, there are vacancies that aren't actually going to have anyone hired. There are companies that literally post vacancies to look like they are in growth. This is all real, but obviously I encourage you to do your own research and look into it. I hope that this video is finding people that are genuinely looking for work. They're really curious as to what has happened to this UK job market. They're not used to this volatile environment. Or if you're a new graduate coming out and looking for graduate work or entry-level jobs, this is a really, really challenging time to be going into the workforce and looking for work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it is. But I say that very bluntly so that you don't put so much pressure on your shoulders that you're not doing enough, that your CV is not good enough. It's a catch-22. You're trying to get into entry-level positions to gain experience, but you have employees here telling you that you need at least 3 years experience. This isn't me even exaggerating. This is what's truly happening out there. On top of that, the salaries are so low and businesses have the upper hand. This is an employer's market, meaning they can pick and choose between candidates and who they want in that role because there is such a big pool of people that are unemployed and out of work. So the ratio to jobs and vacancies versus the amount of unemployed people looking for work do not align at all. And that is the issue. So in no way am I saying there are no jobs. There are jobs, there are vacancies, they are out there, but the ratio is so off that that's what makes it so challenging. And that's why it will probably take significantly longer for people to find work than it usually would have in the previous years. Now, this is going to be different for everyone because if you were just looking for work last year versus this year, it's still a change. It's still, in some ways, got worse. But if the last time you were looking for a job was 5 years ago, that's a different story to how the job market is now. So the question is it really as bad as people say? Now, I'm one of the people that say it's really bad. So I don't want to make it biased, but we're just going to take the stats and we're going to read into them and we're going to figure out what's going on. I feel like a lot of us actually do know what's going on. It just doesn't seem to be reported on enough. It just doesn't seem to be at the forefront of this is what's happening in our country because it's so easy to put blame on job seekers that they're not doing enough. However, when so many people are out of work, especially due to redundancy, so they were not likely planning on being out of work. They didn't choose to leave their job. They're being made redundant and having to seek new work. Not to mention the gap between wage growth and the cost of living. So other crises that are going on in this country affect the job market. Same with the housing crisis. Like, it all interlinks, but for some reason, I just personally feel like the job market and that element is not being shown enough. It's not being shared in the media in ways that it could be. However, since I have been making videos on TikTok and it's been a while on this unemployment journey, blah, 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 I have had reporters reaching out to me from Pop Sugar, ITV News, BBC, because they're doing more and more reports and articles on this very issue, which shows this is an issue that needs to be addressed. And I feel like the people that really understand it are the ones that are in it. However, please, if you are happily employed and you're looking at people around you that are struggling to get work and you can't understand because the last time you were looking for a job was 4 years ago and you snapped one up really quickly, or you've been lucky and you've been out of work but then snapped up something really quickly even this year, please have some empathy for people that are looking for work and are genuinely struggling. I do not think it should take 200 to 500 job applications to secure a job. I don't know when or how that got normalized, but I think that is sick. I think it's sick that we have to do that to try to secure a job. And that's the numbers we're looking at in this job market in particular. So for me, this has kind of been a hot topic because I have been experiencing this. And then I started to make videos on it on TikTok, like I shared, and I realized I am not alone, which means you're not alone. There are a lot of people in the same boat, but this boat is not being saved. This boat isn't even being seen. So it says the number of unemployed people per vacancy was 2.3 in May to July 2025. This is up from 2.2 in the previous quarter, February to April 2025. The estimated number of vacancies fell by 10,000, which is 1.4%. Vacancy numbers have dropped compared to the previous 3 months for more than 3 years. The total number of vacancies has decreased by an estimated 571,000 since its peak in March to May 2022. Total estimated vacancies are now 8.4% below their pre-coronavirus pandemic January to March 2020 level. So look, this is that 8.4% is 67,000 less vacancies, less/below what it was in 2020. Bear in mind, in 2020, we have the pandemic, and that was the reasoning. Like, we are just going through it for real. What I'm now about to say is from June this year, total vacancies decreased by 119,000, which is 14%, when comparing June to August 2025 with the same period last year. 14% less vacancies than last year. So look, the unemployment rates are up, the vacancies are down, there are not enough vacancies, and people are struggling to get work because that ratio, like I told you, is off. So let's do an example. Somebody that works in finance got made redundant. They are suddenly left unemployed. Now, in the UK, that shouldn't be so sudden, but let's just imagine that it happened over a month. Within that time, they've been applying for jobs at different businesses where they would be suitable based on their qualifications and their experience. However, unlike the previous job market that they experienced 5-6 years ago when they last had to look for a job, they cannot secure interviews as quickly as they were. They feel like they're not being seen. They feel like they're just getting rejections constantly. Before you know it, they're up 100, 200, 300 applications and they don't understand why. At this point, they realize, I just need any job right now to get by because I need money to pay my bills, to put food on the table, and to look after myself. So this person that is qualified in finance, has years of experience, is currently looking for a new role because they were made redundant, is now looking for roles in, let's say, retail. They're going to take up a job in a shop. This isn't what they do. This isn't their career path, but it's going to pay the bills. The problem with this is that they are then underemployed, and we're also assuming that they're then going to land that job in retail. Because let me tell you, any of the retail jobs I applied for the same reason, same very reason of just getting some money to get by, had an unusually high number of applications. Do you know why? Because this is what's happening. People are trying to find any work available to them. As a result, other businesses such as retail, we're taking as an example, are getting an influx of applications, and we could have one vacancy to work in a sweet shop would probably be, honestly, I'm not exaggerating, 150 applicants, because half of those applicants don't really want to be in a sweet shop. They just need money. They just need to work. And then you've got your usual people that actually want to be in retail. That is their career path. That's where they're going. And then you've got the people that are students or just need a quick summer job or Christmas temping. That pool of candidates. And I can assure you that the qualified finance person that's had to adjust their CV to suit retail isn't going to likely get that. And that's where people come onto TikTok and say, you know, I've got a PhD, I've got this, I've got that, and I've been rejected from McDonald's, because McDonald's does not care that you have a PhD. Like, sorry, that's for your other career path where that is notable, that means something. To work in McDonald's, it does not. It does not. It's important to factor these things in, that it is just not one reason why you're not getting a job. It's a systemic issue, and it is not necessarily easily fixed. The advice that you would likely hear if you were a job seeker in 2025 is just keep going. It's a numbers game. Apply to as many as you can and you will eventually get a job. It is just a lucky dip of how many applications can you do, because the more you do, the more there is of a chance of you getting a job. Now that would basically still apply to every other year, but the problem is the numbers are significantly higher. What used to take you 30 applications, possibly even 60 at a push, will now take you into the hundreds. There should not be normalized hundreds of applications. It's disgusting. So I recently interviewed with Pop Sugar, and they did a really good article explaining a bit about the job market and how young people, or just people in general, are struggling, and what that looks like, what that actually looks like for real people that are searching for work, myself included. So I'll link that down below if you fancy a read. It's really good to just know that you are not alone, and that this job market is not the same as any other one we've experienced before, in particularly this generation, Gen Z, millennial cusp. If you're there, it's hard. I've seen a term being coined within the media called job hugging, which is literally about kind of clinging onto your job, like hugging, like literally hugging it, because people know that the job market is bad. If you know, you know. If you're seeing it around you, people being made redundant, people struggling to get a job, not as easily as they used to, then trust me, if you're in work, you're going to be clinging to that job. Or maybe you're looking for work whilst having the current job you have because you know it's not for you or whatever, and you're finding that difficult. People will cling on to what is safe and what they have. And trust me, if you have a job right now, cling on to it. I don't think now is the time to be quitting. Now, it may differ within sectors and industries. However, a lot of them are struggling. Because when I make videos and I explain that I'm in marketing, people are like, well, obviously marketing's gonna be suffering. AI, it doesn't pay well. It's the first place in the business to go, really. It's the least important. Absolutely agree. And I'm in marketing. But it's not just marketing. We have doctors and nurses out of work, struggling to find work, to secure work. And you want to tell me that it's just the silly, creative, you know, not needed Mickey Mouse jobs. It's not. It's jobs that are needed. But businesses are making cuts. What this means if you're job hunting now is you really do need to focus on the applicant tracking system. This is just a software that businesses use to filter out the CVs, okay? Because if there are so many applicants applying for one vacancy, the stats are already slim. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you're watching this video, it's not all going to be positive rainbows and fairies. So yeah, the possibilities of you getting that job, I don't know the percentage, but it's not necessarily high. So having the applicant tracking system in hand, every business that I know pretty much uses it. And that means you have to have keywords in your CV that are going to match the job description. Otherwise, if you are not, it is very likely that your CV is not even being seen by a human. It's being filtered out immediately. And you can go onto websites, again, I'll link one down below, where you can put your CV in and you can see how it shows up against the job description. So you might be thinking your CV matches what they're looking for, but in terms of the ATS, it doesn't make sense, and you'll get a score. And if your score is low, like let's say it's 30%, then it is more likely that those CVs you've been putting out, especially this one that we've just given an example, right? You've got your CV and your job description, it's coming up with a low percentage. You're not seeming like a good match on paper. So you've got to do what you can to make it a really good match. And it has to be real, obviously. But there are ways of doing that, and that involves keywords, that involves taking things off the job description and putting it directly into your CV. There's a lot more effort involved getting a job in 2025. The saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, definitely still applies. But the fact is, when you're up against so many people, there's elements of luck. There really is. I got so fed up at points that I decided to create a petition. It is linked below. This petition is about blind recruitment, also known as anonymous recruitment, which will essentially take the names and dates and I believe, unnecessary information off of the CV to give people a chance to get through, especially in the initial stages of job applications, because marginalized groups of people face so much bias before they've even had a chance for someone to just look at their credentials. They're already being boxed, and that only lessens their chances of securing a job. Because I am a supporter of changing something within this recruitment system and this job market, because I can't just ignore it. I can't just pretend that this isn't happening. If you've recently been made redundant or you're currently looking for work and maybe you're early in your journey, I don't want to scare you, but I do want to make it real that you may be looking at months of a job search, and you may also be looking at a very vast amount of job applications. That is what the reality has looked like for a lot of people like myself. So we have to share that message, because if you think I'm just going to snap up something next week, it'll be fine, I'm going to get something just like my previous job and it'll be better pay, it's not the case. It's not. So please bear that in mind. But I think a lot of us have to go through the phases of, we just think it's normal, then we realize something's off and that we're constantly getting rejected, and then we realize that the job market is horrendous and I'm not immune to it, and actually it does also affect me, and so on, so on, so on. You find it a challenging job search. Please do let me know in the comments how you found your job search. If you're looking in the UK market or just anywhere, if you're struggling, what has it looked like? How has it been? How long has it been? If you're happy to share, I think it's really, really insightful for other people to see that they are not alone and that other people are in the same boat and going through the same thing. I also know that the job search can take such a mental toll because you are constantly facing rejection. There is some self-doubt, self-blame. It can definitely take a hit on your self-confidence as well, because the way that you used to perform just isn't the same, because it's not landing the same results, which is a job much quicker. I understand that, and I also just want to provide a place where people can talk. On my TikToks, I do live sessions where we talk about the job market, people give some advice or good job boards or what's going on currently, and I think that's really useful for anyone that is looking for work. So please feel free to share. And I'll also do a different video on kind of the mental toll of unemployment, and that also goes into mental health in general, because I want to talk about that more on my channel. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me or watch some of my recent ones here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.